Hello, I'm Professor Santa Ono. I'm President and Vice Chancellor of the University of British Columbia. Today, I'm really lucky to be speaking with Gabriela Scenario. She's the incoming President of the Faculty of Land and Food Systems Undergraduate Society. The society builds a sense of community in LFS and represents 1,700 undergraduate students in university and faculty affairs. Before we go on, I'd like to acknowledge that the UBC rests on the traditional, ancestral, unceded territory of the Musqueam people. And I know that's very important for LFSers as well. Thank you for coming here today, Gabriela, for this conversation.
Thank you for having me. It's really great to be here.
So I know that LFS Undergraduate Society is exceptionally active. During the school year, you host weekly Wednesday night dinners at the Agora Cafe, and you hold career fairs and case competitions. How's this going to change during COVID-19?
Well, definitely, I think COVID-19 has changed all our experiences and all our lives in a certain way. But I think the way that our team is approaching this is looking at ways how we could positively approach the situation. So, for example, what are things that we can do now that the situation is online that we weren't able to do in person, for example? And I think during this time, it's really important to seek for the community, especially in campus, in UBC. So we will be hosting virtual events. We'll be having Wednesday night dinners online, cooking together and having those dinner together, although we are in our own homes. As for case competitions, last time I talked with our VP External, we are planning to have it virtual as well, but we're trying our best to make everything happen and have the best experience possible despite the situation.
I gotta tell you, I participated in one of these virtual dinners, and they can be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Cooking together and just watching people cook, and then just sitting down to dinner. One key thing I'd like to recommend, not that I want to tell you how to do things, because you probably can throw a better party than I can, but I found that if you have really cool music in virtually, and everybody's listening to the same music while you're eating, or if you think about cool videos of dancing, that's one thing I found is really helpful. In addition to the food, have good entertainment. Is that something that you're planning to do?
Yeah, for sure. We're open to any suggestions. So thank you so much for yours. And I think, cooking at home, as you mentioned, it's not every day that you can cook at home with your friends as well and with people in your community. So as again, like looking at things in a positive way and see how this is different, but also really special.
Are you familiar of the student group Dance Horizons?
No, actually, I don't think I've heard of them.
Well, if you're looking for some content while you're actually eating your meal together, you should look up the Dance Horizons videos, or you might even contact them and see if they'd be willing to do something new for you, because they're extremely entertaining.
Absolutely, yeah. So, we're hoping to speak out to as many people as possible.
There's a little suggestion for you. So what other ideas do you have? Do you have new ideas about how to build community? Because as you know, one of the things that people look forward to when they come to an institution to come to university for the first time is really that sense of community. So especially when you think about first-year students coming, this is going to be an atypical year. So what kinds of things are you thinking about?
Well, right now I'm working with our VP Student Life to enhance our LFS Welcome Week. So that's around the first or second week of school once Imagine Day starts. So we are thinking of ways how we could kind of like welcome them and the events that we would like to host for them. So we'll be having events that are specific for first-year students as well as returning students to make sure that they are feeling welcome in LFS. I can share some ideas, but we're really excited to have them. For example, one is a virtual escape room that we are building specifically to LFS. So you're stuck in Macmillan and you have to save the dean. So what do you do about that? So it's a fun way to get to know each other as well as, speed friend making. So being put into a breakout room and having 2 minutes to get to know as much as possible about the people you are in. So those kinds of ideas to make sure that people are engaged and people are interested. And especially at this time, all of us are seeking to find community and having that connection that you might be missing at this time. So,
you should have Dean Yada in one of those breakout rooms because he's quite the character.
Hopefully, yeah. I think first years are in for a surprise once they get to know Ricky.
He's terrific. And if I can help out, if you want me to make a complete surprise visit to one of your breakout rooms, if it works in my calendar, I'd be happy to join in, especially if I get some of that wonderful food.
That's awesome. We'll keep it in mind. Hopefully you can join us. It's going to be
Yeah.
surprise for first years.
Tell me a little bit about you. So this is your fourth year, right? Does it seem like it was just yesterday that you arrived at the university, or does it seem like you've been here for a while?
Absolutely. I think time goes by so quickly. It's crazy. I was looking through my camera roll today and I forgot that I actually met you on Imagine Day in the main mall. And I was like,
Okay.
when did this photo happen? It feels like it was just last week. But absolutely, I think when you go to university, you thought, oh, I have a lot of time to try all this new stuff. But time runs by and now I'm almost done with my university experience.
Yeah, but one thing I'd like to say, because it's been a few years since I graduated from university, that you're always part of the university. You're always part of UBC. So even after you graduate, I hope you keep coming back and keep in contact with the dean and go to alumni events. And wherever you end up, you probably know that we have alumni events all over the world. So you will always be part of UBC. So please remain in contact. And I really do hope you have a wonderful year as president. It's really, I think, a symbol of your enthusiasm and your school spirit that you were elected to that position. So I'm hoping you have a wonderful year.
Absolutely.
Um,
Thank
I'll ask you a question. Why did you choose UBC? I'm sure you had multiple places you could have gone to university. Tell me about why you chose UBC.
Well, I think kind of a funny story, but I first heard or went to UBC when I was sending my sister to her Jumpstart experience. So that was 7 years ago, I believe. And when I witnessed the Jumpstart activities that she was in, I was like, I wanted to be part of this community. It seems so inclusive. It looks really fun. And I think at that time in 2013, when I was just entering grade 9, I think I wanted to go to UBC. But later on, when I was, considering universities in grade 11 or grade 12, I think I was drawn to the emphasis on diversity in UBC. I know UBC is one of the most diverse universities out there with a high population of international students. And I think, getting to meet a lot of people from all around the world, learning about their backgrounds, their culture, and having that connection was something that I was seeking at the time. Also, the food science program is really great in UBC, so that's a huge plus as well.
So tell me, so you arrived at UBC, and now I know why you chose UBC. Uh, did anything surprise you during your years here? Maybe your very first term or your first year. Was there something different about university from high school that you want to talk about?
I think there are so many differences. It ranges from academic differences, personal life differences, or career differences. So I think one of the academic ones is you have in university you have a lot of freedom of what you want to do. You get to build your own timetable. Unlike in school, you get to decide what you want to do after lunch or when you have the free time. So I think having that freedom, but also making sure that you are responsible to manage it, is one of the things that you hear about before university, but it was definitely harder to encounter anything. One other thing is I didn't realize how huge UBC was until I was in it. And sometimes it's really hard to find a place or find a community, especially when you feel like you're just one of the 7,000 first year students. But I think over time, when I was in UBC, you find out that there are so many communities that you can join, so many people who are like you and so many people that you can get to know, and the resources that are available for first years are, I couldn't even kind of list it all because I don't know all the resources that are available. So I think it's just amazing, the experiences that you have here.
Tell me about what community you found within LFS or within the university. Where do you go? There's an old TV show called Cheers, where everyone knows your name. What's that for you?
What is that for me? This is definitely something that I was struggling quite a bit with in the beginning, but I think I found most of my community from my Jumpstart experience as well as UBC Collegia. I thought I was in the right place at the right time because I've never heard of UBC Collegia on my first day of school, but I was lining up for Mercantes, and across from Mercante there is Oak Collegium, and the door was open, and I was curious, so I just walked in, not knowing that as a non-member I wasn't really allowed inside, but I get to hang out in there, and I learned about this collegium where you meet fellow first year students who are outside your faculty, and it becomes a home away from home for commuters. And then that's where I went almost every day throughout my first year. And I not only did I make friends that I have I still have the connection to this day, but I learned so much about resources and opportunities that you can have in your first year. So I think that was my place in the community that I found. And I'm still involved in Collegia up to this day. So
That's wonderful. I got to tell you, this is a secret. You may or may not know this, but I have a daughter about your age. She doesn't even go to UBC, but she took a gap year, and in her first year, she went to a collegiate, not to that one, not to Oak, but the one across the street. And her best friend, I would say, in Vancouver, and one of her best friends in the world, she found at Collegia. So I strongly recommend that first-year students that they seek out that kind of a place. Collegiates are great, but also clubs are wonderful places to meet like-minded people.
definitely.
So thank you for that. I want to just ask you, what are your what tips do you have for LFS students, new ones? What would you want to leave with them in your final remarks in our conversation?
And I think that's really hard, especially if someone asked me, what would you say to incoming first years? Because one of the most special things about going to UBC is that not one experience is the same between students. So I don't know what to recommend to them, because UBC has so many opportunities that you could choose and build your own experience.
Let me put it this way. If
Yeah.
you were talking to your first year version of yourself, knowing what you know today, what would you say to Gabriella?
What would I say to myself? I think for LFS students, especially in your first year, you're taking a lot of science courses with a lot of science students, and a lot of people around you might not even know what LFS is or what LFS stands for. So, LFS is although it's small, it is a very welcoming community. And personally, I didn't really feel like I was part of LFS until I was in my second or third year. But I wish I knew that it was there, that it was really welcoming back in my first year. So I think I wish the LFS students knew this at the beginning, and they could seek out those resources, those communities, join those Wednesday night dinners, go to Agora Cafe, join the events, all like from my first year. I think that was something that I was really missing out. And another thing is, be open to all those opportunities and those changes. Although it scares you, go for it and make the most of your time and most of your first year, because I think my first year was the highlight of my entire UBC experience.
Well, wonderful. We are very lucky to have you, Gabriella, as president of the LFS Undergraduate Society. If I may, I just want to put in a plug for some of the other activities that a new student can experience. They can listen to a cappella groups. They can go and listen to different combinations, because the Chan Center will be open to certain musical performances. Obviously, this is all depending upon what happens with COVID-19. But ultimately, there will be a time when students can go to those events, and those are really wonderful ways to enrich your experience here at UBC. So once again, thank you so much for talking to us about LFS. It's a wonderful faculty, and talking to us a little bit about your plans for the upcoming year. Once again, have a great rest of your summer. We look forward to the beginning of the academic term in September. Thank you so much, Gabriella.
Of course, thank you so much, Nana.